Hello, listeners, and welcome to the Music is My Life podcast from Berklee Online. I am your host, Pat Healy, and I want you to take note of Ritzy Bryan, also known as Ritzy Bryan, also known as the guitarist and singer for the Welsh band the Joy Formidable. We met up in Glasgow last week as the Joy Formidable were opening a massive show for The Cure. Also on the bill were Glasgow's Twilight Sad and Mogwai, the latter of whom you may hear seeping into the background of our conversation at about the 40-minute mark. Now luckily, Mogwai play mostly instrumental music. You may also hear some hail pelting the top of the backstage trailer where Ritzy and I had this conversation. Luckily, our audio engineers were able to fix most of that in post-production. Now, Ritzy does use the F word a lot in this conversation, and we left that in. Anyway, this October, the Joy Formidable are releasing a special commemorative 10-year double album edition of their acclaimed debut, A Balloon Called Moaning, which features brand new Welsh language versions of the songs on that record. Ritzy says her Welsh background is very important to her musical identity, and during her childhood, her surroundings led to her writing a lot of poetry. Let's let her tell you about how it all started and where she grew up.
I was an only child and I was living kind of in the middle of fucking nowhere in North Wales. And not many people came knocking on your door to see if you wanted to go play outside. So I remember writing a lot of poetry and words and stories. And then my first gig, and my parents took me to in Liverpool, and it was at Elvis Costello and the Attractions.
Okay. What year are we talking?
I don't remember. In the late 80s.
Okay.
I was quite little.
So it was probably Spike, the one with Veronica on it, maybe? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, something around there. And I was really excited because I'd been listening, been learning all the words to his songs and kind of getting into it. And I think just that moment of seeing him in the Attractions, and that was like a hometown show for him in Liverpool, so really kind of, a lot of energy in that room, and maybe like having some penny drop that, oh fucking hell, all these words and things I've been writing, I could put them to music, or play an instrument, pick up my dad's guitars, because we had a lot of guitars in the house. And I kind of feel like that there was definitely some early trigger of seeing like how poetic and lyrically minded somebody like Elvis Costello was, and seeing that in a live performance really, I don't know, I remember from that moment, that's when I started picking up the guitar. That's when I started wanting, some sort of lessons. And, I started off with classical lessons. But definitely, that was kind of a gateway to something. Yeah,
what made you go that route to begin with?
I don't think where we grew up. I think it was just kind of like the type of musical teachers that we had around there. Like, I was quite happy just fucking around on guitar, and like I said, I was writing a lot of words and poetry and like kind of making up little songs for myself. But in terms of maybe having a bit of a technical background, I think just the local neighbourhood guitarist was of a classical background.
Oh, that's
so
funny.
It was kind of like, this is what there is, in a small town, kind of in the middle of...
Did you ever bring the teacher some of the rock songs you were listening to and saying, I want to learn this, or...?
No, and I think that's maybe, I kind of got into my early teens, and I think that's why I kind of dropped off from the classical training, because I kind of found it... I think it's kind of cool to have like a technical background and to stretch yourself a little bit that way, but it doesn't kind of always go completely hand in hand with rock and roll and this sensibility of like, no, I don't want to learn it, I want to fucking make it up as I go along, you know, and look, I've got all these pedals and they're really loud, and she was like, ah,
you do have a lot of pedals. And what was the first pedal you got?
Oh my god, it was something really, bad, like, borrowing a friend's Boss flange or something. And even back then, you were like, this kind of sounds shit, but it fucking makes it do something else, Or a chorus. It was always like, chorus, flange,
Yeah.
Those two were always the two pedals that used to kind of, you get inherited.
That's
somehow.
Great. And so there were guitars growing up, did your father play?
He did.
And did you play together at all, or did he teach you at all?
No, not really. I think we kind of went quite. I think we kind of, forked at a certain point where he did original stuff as well. I don't want to fucking, put Dad down. But there definitely came a point where, I just maybe, really, really wanted to explore having a really original voice. Like, I kind of went through like a very early stage of like learning to play other people's songs. And that, I remember like my first guitar book, tablature book was like Elvis Costello, and then there was a Bruce Springsteen one. And then I kind of remember like having just a year of that, and then it was just like, oh, what else can you do? I've never been one to learn lots of other musicians' songs.
Well, that's kind of surprising though, because I do think there you have released a number of covers.
I know.
Are those the only ones you know?
No, they've definitely come from just like a very impulsive, I've been listening to this today, I want to cover it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's done,
Great.
So, and it's never it's never completely truthful to, and I think that's the good thing, like, almost not knowing how to cover something. Well, not knowing, but not having a huge amount of foundation of how to cover something perfectly.
Right.
But Joy Formidable, the sound and the vibe of Joy Formidable is what's completely ingrained into you. So that doing covers, I don't know.
Right. What were your parents listening to in the house growing up?
Well, my mother had I think she had really good, music taste. My dad had the instruments in the house, but I kind of feel like my mum had a good chunk of the really good vinyl collection in her name, and definitely a lot of like really just great songwriters. Elvis Costello, Bruce Springsteen, John Martin, Van Morrison, Richard Thompson, Christy Moore. Real kind of mix of that. My mum had a lot of kind of Motown and soul, and that was, definitely a lot of that playing when I was growing up. Curtis Mayfield, Marvin Gaye, Aretha, so a real kind of combination. Between them both, they had a really fucking massive vinyl collection, and I think that's, we have a lot of rainy days in North Wales as well, so I used to started off going through it alphabetically and then realised I was never going to get through this 1,000+ vinyl that stored against the wall, so kind of started just pulling them at random.
Okay.
A little dabble. I remember having a very little dabble with Yes, but only really getting obsessed with Close to the Edge.
Okay.
Just playing that over and over again.
Okay.
And just be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
What is this?
That's funny.
This song is huge and long, and it goes. So yeah.
That's funny. I don't hear that in the music that you make now at all.
No.
But where and when did you meet Rhydian?
Well, we went to school together.
Okay.
And we were actually, because that was kind of the first, the band that I had. We were both in competing bands at school.
Okay.
He had his, we went to a small Welsh bilingual school.
Uh-huh.
And in the town of Rhydian Dafydd, and we're both a couple of years apart, but there was only like two, kind of rock guitar bands going at the school. One of them was his, and one of them
What were the names of each of the bands?
Mine was called Zabriskie.
Zabriskie?
Yeah.
Like Zabriskie Point? I think there was like some movie that Pink Floyd did the soundtrack for.
Fucking hell. If only he was here.
Yeah. You don't remember his?
I don't remember his. Don't want to be cruel. I mean, obviously our band was much better.
Right,
I'm
obviously.
kidding,
But so then you joined the band that he had already had, right?
Yes.
And what was the name of that one? Tricky Nixon.
And I joined them just as a second guitarist. Not just as a second, but I did. And, the song, everything already written.
Right.
That was a crazy time.
Yeah?
Yeah, dynamic was horrible.
Yeah. Just
like,
a lot of everybody playing all the time, or?
Yeah, dysfunction.
Yeah.
You know, I was with them for maybe 8 months. There was just a lot of clashes of personality in that band.
Right.
And when that kind of broke down, I think that's, you know, Rhydian and I kind of, because it went fucking crazy as well at the end. I won't go into it.
No, you need to.
No, I think the drummer might come after me. But, you know, when that kind of ceased being in a very dramatic, up in flames kind of way, we went back to North Wales. We were like, oh, bloody hell, that wasn't very good or productive.
Yeah.
Or, you know, well.
Were the other people not from the area?
No, they were from Manchester.
Oh,
so
okay.
a Mancunian-based band.
Okay. But then you two knew that you wanted to keep playing together?
Well, we kind of didn't know what the fuck we wanted to do. We were kind of quite, you know, like, right, what do we do from now? And I think we moved back to Mould, and we just thought, fuck it, let's try writing together. And, you know, during that whole kind of tricky Nixon period, I've always written a lot, you know. I had a lot of solo stuff, or a lot of stuff that I was writing, and he'd done the same, and we just kind of brought it together. And it was really interesting. I'd never written with anybody before. In fact, I think prior to meeting Rhydian, I think I'd been quite shy of what it was that it was just for me.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't really play it to anybody.
So were you had combined the poetry with original music at that point?
I had at that point, yeah.
But you weren't sharing it?
I wasn't sharing it, you know, it was very much more of an acoustic thing. I hadn't really thought about, I knew that it was more like written for a full band, but I hadn't really thought of how to produce it, or, you know, it was just for me. And I kind of think that we brought, you know, it was a very revitalising, exciting period, because like I said, we just come out of something quite dark, and then to kind of have this meeting of the minds where all of a sudden like, we felt really inspired and passionate about what it was that we were writing, and we butted heads, but in quite a good way. And it felt like, you know, our intuition, I mean, it's interesting what we've grown into in 10 years, but I think even in those early days, there was something about the songwriting that was pretty special.
Right.
Hard to kind of gauge it completely, because like I said, I don't think either of us had written that much with anybody else.
Right. So is this Joy Formidable we're talking about?
Or
because there was another band too, right? Sidecar Kisses or something?
Oh, that was the same as Tricky Nixon.
Oh, really?
For me.
Okay.
We just name changed it.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought it was like somebody left, maybe the crazy person left, and then...
One did, and then maybe...
another. So when you decided, like, okay, we're doing this, so you weren't doing any of the songwriting in either of those bands.
No.
So when you decided, okay, we're going to do this Joy Formidable, how much of the vision did you have before you got together with Rhydian and the drummer who...
Just...
The first drummer, yeah.
Well, we didn't have a drummer at the very beginning. It was
Okay.
literally just... Rhydian and I started off like a very kind of bedroom project, and just really experimenting, going wild, like all the demos. I mean, we've never shared them from that period, some of the early demos, but they really have a lot of range, you know. You can kind of hear us just fucking splurging, whatever the hell, you know, in terms of production. And I think we hit on an aesthetic that we both really liked. You know, we had these kind of single note, quite fuzzy, dirty guitars and delayed reverb vocals, and then this really orchestral, you know, always like this kind of choral orchestral sounding guitars,
right,
ambiances and things like that. And it kind of felt, you know, and obviously kind of really kind of powerful driving bass lines as well. And it kind of felt like, just as that all merged, all of a sudden everything seemed to, this is the basis for our sound now, in terms of writing moving forward. Just kind of grew from that.
Yeah. And so from the start, were you, because every time I've seen you play, I'm like, where's that noise coming from? Like, you're triggering things, right?
Totally.
From the start, you were doing that too?
Well, we hadn't decided how to do it as a live aesthetic.
So how did you do it for when you started?
Well, quite clumsily, I think, to begin with. You know, obviously built my guitar rig to be able to incorporate quite a lot of ambient sounds, as well as obviously having the power. Like I said, always triggering things. You know, I think our first drummer used to trigger a lot of things on SPDS. And, you know, we had another little foot trigger as well that we used to use in the early days as well. But the timing of those was really,
I'd imagine, and it's so interesting to watch you, especially like whirring, where that noise, ding, ding, ding.
Totally.
What is that? Just like harmonics or something?
Yeah, and like blending. It's always been a tricky one because I think we found this dynamic, especially once Matt joined us after Justin. I think we felt so good live with the dynamic that we had that but then again we've never been shy on record to layer and have all these different instrumentation. So then there comes that moment where you're like, right, now there's just the three of us. So, and obviously that brings like a rawness to the live setting, but you still want to keep those really kind of special moments on records, and so there's a little bit of blend, like I said, of things that we trigger, and some of those hooks that we can't play and play that, and
right. Well, because what I was starting to say is I'd imagine like it's hard to get that involved in a performance and keep track of the backing track that's going on to make sure.
And we don't like putting too much on backing track. Not that I think it's a dirty word, because I think obviously, it's strange how things have morphed, haven't they? It's like almost now there's nobody even thinks twice about putting almost fucking everything on USB.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And I think there's layers that you can bring in and out and trigger and stuff like that, and you could be quite confident with that as long as there's like the aesthetic of the band is that like you could take all that away and you've still got a fucking band playing together.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me that's like just bringing signatures and interest, and it doesn't replace what's important, which is like the three of us are meshed and connecting, and the song is being.
So you have the first single. What was the name of the first single?
Was it Austere?
Yeah, Austere. So you have Austere was released as a single, right?
Yeah.
And then somebody made a video of it
I know, very.
I never saw it, but I mean, is this like an essential part of the trajectory, or?
I think we'd always been very, kind of quite. Well, I think right from the very start we had quite like a strong communication between the fan base and, being, just kind of being quite open and sharing and wanting them to react to things. And I think that was one of our fondest reactions.
Yeah.
It was so unexpected, but it went so fucking well with the song at the same time.
Yeah.
So for a while we were probably known as the band with the wanking video.
Yeah.
Even though it's obviously all very subtle.
You
can see anything, there could be faces of pleasure for various reasons.
I haven't seen the video.
Oh yeah, it's just people's faces, like,
getting
looking
busy with themselves.
Might be having a good time.
That's hilarious.
And we don't know where they got the foot. It was just fucking brilliant.
That's amazing.
It's just one of those moments where you're like,
that's amazing. So then that propels you to do. I mean, somebody says take that video down, and then you're like, okay, we have to now do this for real.
Yeah, I think it just got taken down. I mean, that from would have been YouTube, I think, which we always found hilarious because it was like I said, there was nothing on show.
Right.
Suggestion.
Right. Right. So then you have the EP. That was 10 years ago, which is insane. What started the initiative to say, let's celebrate our 10th anniversary this way?
I think the reason we got excited about it was we like the idea of, remembering it, but also putting it in kind of some sort of future context.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been wanting to do some more full-length Welsh bilingual stuff. It's my second language.
Right.
Rhydian's.
Oh, it's not your first?
No.
Is it anybody's first in the band?
Yeah, it's Rhydian who plays bass.
Okay.
It's his first language. And so, finding my Welsh lyrical voice hasn't been like a fucking, instant thing. It's something that kind of has gradually come over time and kind of feeling more confident in being able to express. And I just thought, I guess there was some sort of like, I don't know, for me, the challenge of maybe translating something that I wrote 10 years ago, lyrically, in the Welsh language. I thought, well, that's a real way of really wrestling and remembering where you were 10 years ago, when you have to really kind of, because you can't do a straight up translation either in Welsh.
Right.
It's a very wordy and syllabic language. So you're having to really, you know, it's about, as much about the feel and the meaning as it isn't just like, fucking let's translate this word for word. So I really felt like it threw you back 10 years ago. And there's something quite thoughtful and, you know, exciting about that. And like I said, it gives it new life as well, instead of it just feeling like, oh, we fucking just remastered it or packaged it differently or something.
Right,
you know, it kind of, it's where we're at now. We wanted to do more Welsh language stuff. Certainly we've started dabbling in a little bit more acoustic. You know, we're just about to go on our second acoustic tour this September. So the meeting of those two worlds, stripping them into something, you know, quite intimate.
Yeah, I mean...
And Welsh as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit of a fucking, you know...
Well, I mean, nobody could accuse you of selling out with this album.
Right, yeah, precisely. Yeah, something just very natural.
Right.
But good for us where we're at.
Now, a lot of the sets you're playing are from that first EP.
Yeah.
And what's it like to revisit the material live, and especially with a different drummer? And has Matt always played all of those songs, or are any of these new to him?
Well, I suppose Matt joined us very quickly after Balloon Called Moaning, so it was still kind of part of our repertoire. So maybe within 6 months of that coming out, he you know, Justin had left and decided that touring wasn't quite for him, and Matt had joined us. So, you know, I kind of feel like the live signature on those tracks has always been Matt.
Yeah,
really.
right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's felt like more of like where this band is now, rather than before that, from a rhythmical point of view. But you know, they've appeared in our set on and off through the years, and they've had various lives as well, and incarnations, and it's, you know, it's kind of fun to revisit them now. You know, we've been revisiting them a little bit acoustically, we've been revisiting them bilingually, which is, you know, like every so often now when we play them, I have to kind of really concentrate on what language I'm singing.
Yeah, well, you do some combos too, don't you?
Right, yeah, and, you know, kind of going between two tongues is really fun, but, you know, I definitely, occasionally I'm like, fucking hell, don't trip up, you know, I can feel my two brains go.
Well, tell me about that. Like, why was it so important to do these in Welsh? And that's what I call the language, right?
Yeah,
Welsh, okay.
in the Welsh language. Like I think, like I said from the, you know, at the start, like, I feel like I've been building that lyrical voice over the last 10 years, and with it being a bit of a different challenge when it's your second language. So we started this 7-inch vinyls club, the Erythro Singles Club, and that would always, you know, it was us and another band from Wales that we really admired, and our track on every single one of those 7 inches was in the Welsh language.
Right.
So we were starting to slowly grow this body of work, but not as a collective, you know, just as separates. Last album, you know, we kicked it off with a Welsh track, a Blianera, and just, if you know, maybe it just felt like 10 years in, it was time to have a full body of Welsh language stuff. I kind of feel like I'm confident enough now. I found my stride, I suppose.
Well, yeah, so
lyrically.
When did you learn the language? Because it's not your first language. And it is Rhydian?
It is Rhydian,
That's wild.
Yeah. Well, I learned it through school. Like I said, it was a bilingual school, but then, you know, you kind of go through the school system. And then I obviously went to, like, English university, and I moved to America, and, like, Rhydian and I kind of talk Welsh on and off, you know, together, but we're with Matt a lot, so we don't want him, you know, who's gog.
So he doesn't speak it at all?
He doesn't speak Welsh, no. So, you know, you end up, I kind of felt like I was just really fucking rusty, you know, even though I've learnt it from being quite young, that kind of the ease of conversation, and certainly having to, you know, you really want the articulation for me, the lyrical side of this band is a huge part. So I wanted the articulation to be like, I just wanted to be like matching the English lyrical voice. And I still have to ask, there's still moments where I'm like, how do you fucking say this in Welsh?
Right.
So many crazy rules and mutations and all that sort of stuff.
So where did you find Matt? Or where did he find you?
Just in the weirdest way possible, because Justin left quite quickly and we had a tour booked.
Yeah.
And we had
maybe
about 3 weeks to fill it. So we ended up having to just do this like fucking, quick audition style bollocks, because we, at the time, a lot of our friends in London who were drummers, they were all out with other bands and everything. So we just ended up holding this crazy 2 days of auditions. Just and I think we were so cynical going into it, we wanted to find somebody that the chemistry and the connection. We didn't want just, I don't want to say just a session, but we didn't want a session. We wanted somebody who was a real part of this chemistry in this band, and just like day one was just like, fuck me. And day two, he just walked in.
Oh, great. So was the Atlantic deal on the table at that point? Not even. So he had to take a leap of faith.
Yeah, nowhere near. Yeah. No, that was all quite a long time coming, because we were building things up and releasing stuff ourselves and
right. You guys, the first one was with the Passion Pit guy, right?
Right.
Yeah, they're from Boston. So
yeah, lovely people. That was a huge risk. I remember we just started making the first record, and we got invited to go over and do those Terminal 5 shows, and we had no money, and we were just like, what are we going to do? And we just said, well, we can either lay it all on the line, and if this goes tits up, then we won't be able to, we'll have to, go back to working really, really hard in these day jobs and have 6 months to build back up so that we can finish the record.
What were you both going to do? Or you three going to do?
Oh, we were doing all sorts of crap jobs, literally hustling the shit out of London, to make money. And we were sharing our money. It was very communal. We were living together. We had enough money for the flights and take the gear over. And we thought...
What kind of shit jobs?
I was doing computer support.
Oh my.
But, I literally wrote, all the lyrics to Greatest Lights sat at this job telling people to switch their computers on and off. I don't know fucking anything about computers. Ritz was working, and then bar work, and then he was doing something at, the medical agency where he was just, going through doctors' records. And, whatever.
So you're what age at that time? 22 or so?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how much belief did you have in this thing? Did you know, we can definitely do it, or?
I don't know if I've ever had that kind of stonking ambition. I mean, we're from North Wales, this isn't to be, put us down or anything, but, there's not a lot of bands from North Wales that have, really fucking gone
if we are looking
international,
were the Alarm Welsh? Yeah. Who else? Or were they the biggest ones?
Some Frianos were more, they were more mid.
Mm-hmm.
No, we weren't looking to anybody look at what fucking, So, we loved what we were making, and but that kind of raging, fucking balls out ambition, fucking look at us.
Yeah.
We just were very music focused, creative, enjoyed it, loved each other. All we lived for. We used to rehearse a lot in that time. Every fucking night we'd be doing these day jobs, and every night we'd be rehearsing. We just wanted to, that was the thing for us, be the fucking live, just really be the best that we could be. And beyond that, that's maybe the beautiful thing, because there was drive there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a different thing, because like I said, we were really passionate about it, but we weren't fucking biggest band in the world,
Well, there's something that comes through in the live performances, the way just you can watch you all locking gazes with one another. And tell me a little bit about the first time you realized you were in this musical moment with these other two people, and you were like, this is special,
Probably around this 10-year period, maybe. I can't remember exactly on the venue. You see, I haven't even looked back.
Yeah.
Life is so blurry sometimes on the road, and the, the kind of the, what do you call it, like the fucking time, year by year. Sometimes I kind of mix things up, but I think around about Balloon Called Moaning, we probably had sold out one of our first London headline shows, which was a big deal, for a band from Wales. And I can't remember it. Maybe it was the Lexington. Fuck me, I'm gonna get in trouble.
I'd say we could edit it out, but Mogwai in the background will make it impossible. But how awesome is it that it's an instrumental band playing right now as we're talking?
I know, it's wonderful, isn't it? But yeah, just I remember when we went out and we started doing those sort of shows in London and selling stuff out. We went out on our first kind of European tour. Just not long after Matt joined us. It was pretty quick, actually.
Yeah.
Of feeling very dialed in a way that maybe we hadn't felt before, and like a lot of feeling on stage, and a lot of very fucking flux feeling. 1 minute like smiles, and then anger in those, in those early tracks as well. Lots of. We went through a lot of gear back then, which is probably why we had even less money.
Well, I noticed that, like, the headstock on your guitar, that's broken, right? Or did you cut that on purpose?
No. Actually, that would have been around circa 10 years ago. I used to have this special move back then. I kind of, mellowed it out a little bit over the years, but I used to do the volleyball with your guitar.
Oh, okay.
And on one night in Oxford, it went up really high. Must have, the adrenaline must have given me a lot more strength than I thought I was capable of. But it went up really high, and as it came down, it actually twatted Rhydian straight on the head.
Oh my!
Just went in and kind of broke.
Oh my!
And he's got like a little Harry Potter scar on his head, and the head bleeds a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't realise until that moment.
Yeah.
It kind of exploded.
That's amazing.
He was alright.
Did you keep
I felt
playing?
really bad. Oh yeah. I kept playing. I mean, he looked like somebody poured a can of paint over him. Really bad. We've always been quite sweet to each other. I remember going over, going, you're fucking alright. You're fucking still conscious, like vital signs. Oh no, he's alright. We've only got 2 songs left. Going off. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to.
That's amazing. I thought you were going to say, and there's this one trick that this band, when I was in Providence, there was a band called Arab on Radar, and the guitarist had one of those, I forget what they're called, but the ones that are like, the headstock has the hollowed out T.
Oh, I've seen those.
So he would like put his headstock on the stage and use it to support him as he flipped out into the audience.
That's pretty cool.
Tricks.
I haven't tried that. I think I'm a bit clumsy for that. I'm very good at, falling around. Mm-hmm. Like I trip over my own feet all the time.
But it's the type of music that's okay when you do it.
As long as you keep on playing, you can take a fall and keep on playing. That's the trick.
So that album, the EP comes out, and then the Atlantic deal comes along, and how did you feel about re-recording so many of those tracks?
Kind of mixed at the time, because I have never liked going back to things.
Yeah.
And even to this day, like a lot of the tracks that are on our record, they're the first demo. In fact, a lot of the vocal takes are the first time I've sang it. Yeah. Because it's insane. Like it's really hard sometimes recapturing that feeling. Right. I've always been quite tentative of going back and doing a load of fucking. That's the thing. It wasn't part of our aesthetic back then, and it still isn't now. So when they, there was obviously a drive that they wanted us to, like I said, it's a fucking difficult one with labels, isn't it? Major labels. It was our first little dance with a label of any sort at that point. And we danced around. We thought we'd see how they sound. I think we, fought for final approval, whatever, that whatever we did wasn't necessarily a given.
Right,
do you know what I mean? Because that's always important. You've got to hold your own.
Did you produce the first one?
So Balloon Called Moaning was totally Rhydian and I.
Right.
And then obviously we went in and we kept, some of that, and a lot of the production on Big Raw was still Rhydian and I.
How did you have to fight tooth and nail for that with the major label? No,
not too bad. I mean, the good thing was that we were established. We'd put out some stuff, and we we weren't like a bunch of fucking wide-eyed, like don't know what we're doing, don't quite understand the sound of this band yet. I kind of feel like we signed at a good point because we were very clear about what it was that we'd grown, built, recorded, what we wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
They were not very bendable, which is probably why when didn't stay on a major label that long either. But we enjoyed going in with Costi. I mean, that was a good session.
Yeah.
No regrets in terms of that side of things. Even though I was cautious about going back and re-recording, we did have a good time with him, and I like what he ended up bringing.
Yeah. I mean, you look at those two different versions of Whirring, and they're like remarkably different, but one's in a bedroom and one's in a studio, right? Totally. So, and then going into the. You said that it was a short-lived thing on the label, but
it was two albums.
Yeah, and a few EPs too, right?
Yeah. I think we learnt a lot from that experience, and I think it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because there's certainly a machine that happens when you go into into the major label world, and I think as long as you're going back to that thing that I was saying, as long as you're really fucking secure in yourselves. Mm-hmm. Don't get bounced around on the waves too much.
Right.
As long as you've got that, and whether or not that, always works. I think where we wanted to go, and when the parting happened, I think it felt right for where we wanted to go creatively. At that moment. Obviously, it takes, because. I mean, that was kind of quite a strange year because we lost our management. Everybody left us.
Oh, wow.
We got well and truly abandoned.
Wow.
A lot of people disappeared.
Is it because of the label deal ending? Did they kind of say, well, you know what, this isn't working out for me either?
I don't know if it was just like if it was just coincidental, or if it was a little bit like. We were still only 2 albums in, and I think there's certainly a lot of carnage that comes from being dropped from a major label, and there's a lot of disappearing that happens from that moment, and I think, I don't know, maybe back then did people think that you were a bit more smeared or they got dropped? We never thought about it like that. We thought about it as a brand new creative frontier. Right,
so there was never any thought in your mind of, oh well, Let's go back into the computer support jobs.
No, God, no. No, not at all. In fact, I was kind of fascinated by that feeling of like fucking everybody, kind of doing this mass kind of like withdrawal. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got 2 options at that point. You can either, like you said, kind of give up and go like, oh, but this is what we've known. What do we do? Or you go, well. Fuck it, like let's creatively really go somewhere that we want to go, but fucking let's I don't think there was a lot of control lost. I'd like to think there wasn't, like I said, I would probably say that part of us getting dropped was because we were very bad at giving up the control. We were very fucking headstrong, and and we didn't bend over to a lot of things.
Were there, like you mentioned, the machine? Were there preposterous ideas on the table that like covers that you had no interest in doing, or pop songs, or like a team co-writers, or what kind of things were on the table that you remember saying no to?
Just kind of lots of things, co-writer, that's one that people try and bring out. That whole culture, it's become even a bigger culture now of collaborating. If you want to try and turn the band, I think they definitely, because of the success of Whirring on radio, I think they definitely had maybe a little bit of a different aesthetic of maybe really wanting to focus on alternative radio, all sorts of radio formats in the US. And we definitely felt like at that time that world was bending anyway. There was less and less guitars.
Right.
You know, were we going to end up getting, was the sound going to end up getting compromised because, like, well, they're not playing fucking distorted guitars on the radio anymore.
Right.
So if we want to continue with this, then we need to rewrite in this way and blah, 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 you know. And I don't think we quite got to that point where there was too much, you know, definitely resistance about choice of songs and writing, so the structure of some of the songs. You know, there was moments where I think we were a total pain in their asses.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy to be.
Yeah.
And, you know, that, I guess now, which is fine by me, I don't think there's much tolerance for that in certain, you know, unless you're fucking making them a shitload of money.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
But if you're still kind of like, you know, kind of an independent, smaller band and doing your thing, you know, they're waiting for you to make them shitloads of money or
to say yes to every single idea.
Yes to everything.
So then there's the first album on Caroline, which was
Hitch.
Yeah, Hitch. Was that 2016?
Mm-hmm.
And now, are you and Rhydian in a relationship by this point? No.
Well, I guess just everything, like the fallout of it. I mean, there's so much going on at this point. So pre-Hitch or pre-Caroline, you know, we're kind of like not together, no label, no management, but all quite fine.
Mm-hmm.
Went back to North Wales, and I think I'm always going to have a really soft spot for Hitch because we built a little studio in my familial house. We called it a Vixencourt, which is red brick because it's in an old Calvinistic manse in North Wales, and we just live roomed the shit out of one of the rooms and holed up in there and just made a really live album, like a very vibey live fucking album that we wanted to make. Like 3 of us in a room, nobody mentioning anything about what we were doing. Off we went.
And how much of that is on the album? Is it all of it? Like,
yeah.
That's great.
You know,
so when you looked for the Caroline deal, or, you know, you were looking for some sort of deal, or I don't know, I mean, I'm putting words in your mouth, but when
that was
you found that, were you adamant that we're not giving up any control now, we're doing everything ourselves, or tell me a little bit about that?
Well, the album was already made. We weren't courting anybody at the time.
Yeah.
We kind of gone past caring, you know. We knew we were going to be able to release it ourselves, whatever happened. We had the foundations, we were building our erythral label and doing those split 7 inches, and we started to taking back control of, you know, because obviously with a label, you know, people don't think about all the practical stuff where you know, the website becomes somebody else's property and fucking, so, you know, all that back at it, you know, so we kind of re-grabbed that, got organised, made that album, and then that was a weird one as well. Fucking hell. Like, labels and deals are just fucking a nightmare sometimes. I think we signed to Caroline, and literally the following month, so we signed to one group of, like, the A&R guy fucking loved what we'd done, blah, 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 all excited, blah, blah, blah. A month later, they all left or got laid off.
Oh, man.
A whole new team. Just to adopt you, you know. But you're not their thing.
Right.
You don't know if they're fans, you don't know if they're excited.
Right.
So, that didn't last very long either.
Yeah. Well, you did a few on Caroline, though, right?
Just Hitch.
Oh, just Hitch? Okay, so who put out the ones after that?
Well, do you want it to get even more fucked up from a label point of view? So, I don't know if I can go into the European side of that too much. We did I don't think I can even talk about them because there was a lot of litigation.
Oh my.
The European side of things, they really tried to fuck us after that. So that was a good example. I don't know if you've ever seen the Turtles, the YouTube of the Turtles being interviewed, where they do this chart from year to year of how many times they've been sued and fucked.
Oh, the Turtles as in Happy Together.
Band,
okay.
Turtles, the band. Well, there was a moment where we were like, fucking hell, we're starting to build, you know, like quite an interesting book in terms of labels. So the European side, that went to shit. Then we found a really good European label who we're still with, Hassel and Full-Time Hobby. We love those guys. Just really creative and detailed and really nice people, music people. So for the last couple of records, the UK, European side of things, fabulous.
Yeah.
But the US side of things on the last record, Av, which is I think one of the most fun records I've ever recorded and one of the most freeing records I think I've ever recorded. That went out on a label that literally went bankrupt within about a fucking month of that coming out.
Oh, wow.
And the guy disappeared into the ether. Very well respected guy as well, who we all thought was lovely.
Yeah.
So, and we're not stupid or naive. This industry is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And I think you have to have very thick skin and be able to roll with things. And I kind of feel like if we didn't have the relationship that we have and the passion in the music, then I think some of the thumps that we've taken, there's definitely been a few moments of like, what the fuck is going on? I think if we didn't have that,
well, it's interesting
I don't think there's that many people would have stuck together in some of these moments.
Well, it's interesting too because I asked about your relationship with Rhydian because it's hard to tell from like a lyrical standpoint that is not present. Like there's no breakup album, there's no I'm in a new relationship album, and it's almost an honorable thing to write lyrics that are personal, but so personal that they're not about what's actually going on in your life.
Well, I was just kind of fucked up because I think we wrote a prophetic album of our breakup. So Wolf's Law, we were still together, but I think we felt like we were breaking up. So a lot of the songs in Wolf's Law are about letting go and coming and change happening, change on the horizon.
Yeah.
So it kind of felt like creatively we kind of, I mean, that's kind of quite a strange thing, isn't it? It wasn't like the breakup album, but it was like almost like we were, and it wasn't on the horizon. It didn't happen for many, many months later.
Right.
But maybe this weird kind of intuition that we had that maybe we were better off as friends, and it came through in this album, Wolf's Law. So I kind of feel like we maybe got it out of our system.
Yeah.
On some, including before the fact, rather than afterwards, and then we're so much better as friends. I think that was very obvious straight away. Like he's my best friend. We've been through so much as well because since then he's gone through an awful breakup and breakdown. I've had exactly the same thing happen since then, and Matt's lost his brother as well. He lost his brother last year on the day that our album came out. He died. No. So between the three of us, there's been real life moments. We always are there, and we always bounce back for each other.
Yeah. What's the key to that?
I think we're definitely, I'm quite an open person. I'm quite chatty and communicative, and I make people talk and open up and let's get it all out on the table. And I think we've always been quite comfortable with and we don't harbour anything. So, you can kind of Rhydian and I have had a few fucking fist fights and stuff over the years where, we were fucking, just fuck you, hate you, blah, blah. 10 minutes later, right, should we go for a sandwich?
No, I had to wonder when you said that Matt doesn't speak Welsh, would you guys have arguments in Welsh? In
sure
the van?
It's a very guttural language, the Welsh language. I'm sure he's seen the spit flying all over the bus, we're all, I think there's a real, a family love there.
Oh, here's the rain. Oh boy.
Oh shit.
It's probably just passing though.
Hopefully, just a shower.
Yeah.
Family.
Yeah.
You don't want to take each other for granted where you do just say whatever the fuck. Ours comes with a lot of respect. But there is that, that we say it, we accept it, we argue, we butt heads. Nothing that we say is ever we're going to be respectful and kind enough to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's always good.
I'm going to ask you to hold this.
Yeah, because that's gone mad, hasn't it? Can you hear that? It's fucking, we're in this little cabin at the back and it's getting pummeled. Yikes.
So over the years that you've held it all together so well through it all, and what do you anticipate? I mean, having been a band for so long and having been friends for so long, how do you figure out the way forward? And
well, we're kind of at this. I guess I kind of feel like we are at this kind of crossroads.
Right. I mean, that's
you know.
I don't want to insinuate that when you get to do a 10-year recap that it means lack of inspiration, but you know, there are probably people who would say that. But
yeah, I would almost say with the beautiful thing at the moment is I would almost say that there's too much inspiration.
That's great.
And so this, you know, we know that we're busy through the end of the year with the touring that we have, and we did want to do something special and launch our own little festival in Cardiff as well, that we're going to do around this release. But I think it maybe is a way for us to just kind of put a little hold. So we finished this year feeling really, you know, like we've done something special, like we've commemorated it. And there's a lot going on creatively at the moment. We're trying to make sense of it all because Rhydian's been making a solo record. I've been making a solo record. Then we kind of diverted from that and we started making a new Joy Formidable record.
And this is apart from the 10-year anniversary?
Yeah, we've been really busy.
Three different
records. Yeah, and then there's a fourth thing that's been happening as well, which is more like a kind of a... it's not a solo record, it's more like a... You know, it doesn't quite feel like Joy Formidable, but it doesn't feel like separate solo stuff. It's like this new production kind of vibe that's... We don't even know what that's fucking called. Yeah. You know, we don't know what that is, but it's just something that we've been enjoying putting down, and we, you know, have a kind of a name for it. But we haven't had a chance to maybe just sit back and listen to everything and decide, like, what do we really want to do creatively? What are we really excited by? You know... nobody's made I haven't made a big break saying like I've got to do this solo record, get it out like now. That's just something that I'm enjoying doing kind of on the side, and I think the same with Rhydian. So there's a kind of a little bit of a relaxedness. Maybe the thing that we're not feeling as relaxed by is the next Joy Formidable record. Like we felt very excited by that, and I think maybe that's a reaction from, like, we've had such a shit time with the release in the US, with this it was just like a complete car crash of the way that the release went, which, you know, when you've made a record that you so love and are proud of, and you just want it to, you know, you don't care about the business side of things so much, you're not caring about the money, but you at least want, like, it to end up in the shops right. And you realise that, like, oh, fucking hell, like, this is, like, not even just going to shops or on iTunes probably, or any of that shit, you know. Maybe there's a little bit of, like, until maybe we just want to feel like we want to at least fucking put something out that just is done happily and well and nobody else fucks it up, you know. Just kind of, you know.
Well, every European artist I've ever talked to always just talks about how difficult it is to break in the States anyway. And do you at least see, though, that you're playing bigger rooms each tour?
Yeah, the fan base has never left us. They, you know, and there's the momentum, and even, like I said, that, like, that's what gives us a lot of heart, I think, is that even, you know, when you kind of see, like, the behind the scenes going quite wrong, the fans and the live side it's never felt like that's dipped or been hurt. You know, so I don't know. I don't want to even say what we've decided at the moment. I think there's a part of us that feels like almost like there's this fight of like wanting to make another Joy Formidable record, and even if we do it ourselves, or at least we, you know, do it through some people that we really, really care about us and we want to do it properly. I think maybe we kind of feel like we want to get that out of our system. And then I don't know at the moment. Maybe, maybe one of us will hit upon something solo that just totally electrifies the solo thing that we're doing. That we're like, no, we have to put the band on hiatus for a year, or we're not quite sure yet.
Yeah, that notion of we're not quite sure yet, that's a powerful one in music, and it can be quite exciting. And it seems from the business side of things, this uncertainty has been the only certainty in the career of the Joy Formidable. But on the personnel side is a group of 3 individuals committed to continue making music together as a band. They are touring North America this fall from September through December. Check out thejoyformidable.com for details. There are so many people to thank for this episode. Caroline Barola from Clarion Call for helping set the interview up. Mies from Full Time Hobby for coordinating on a very muddy site. Sarah Janes for the use of the photo she shot of Ritzy for the title card. Mike DeBenedictis for graphic design. Andrew Walls for his heroic mixing and mastering of the interview. Gabriel Ryford Cohen for mastering the full episode. And, of course, you for listening. Visit us at online.berklee.edu/take note for more great music content. Talk soon.